I won't always be able to directly apply one of my rules like modus ponens or modus tollens or the disjunctive syllogism. Sometimes the premises that I'm working with just don't fit one of those common argument forms, and often what I need to do in that case is to rearrange them using logical equivalences or simplify them in some way. Let's take a look at this Q implies not Q. What can I do with that? Well, I can't conclude anything directly from this with an argument form because I don't have any argument forms that have a premise that looks like Q implies not Q. But I could write down that this is equivalent to something. In particular, we have this implies rule, which says that something implies something else is equivalent to not the first thing or the second thing. And assuming that someone believes these premises, if they believe Q implies not Q, then they should believe this, because these always have the same truth value. They're logically equivalent, so anyone who believes this must believe this. And I can go another step further here and say that this is also equivalent to just not Q. If I have anything or with itself, that's just equivalent to the thing itself. And what that tells me is I can conclude not Q from this premise. If you believe this, then you must believe this, so you must believe this. Let's see what I can do with P if and only if Q. I don't have any argument forms that have an if and only if in their premise. So let's try and simplify from this. I can't use an argument form here because I don't have any that match this premise. If I use a logical equivalence though, I can use this logical equivalence, which is P implies Q and Q implies P. That one can be proved with a truth table. We can think about it intuitively as saying, if it's raining, then I take my umbrella, and only if it's raining do I take my umbrella. So if it's raining, I take my umbrella, and if I took my umbrella, then it must be raining. And that's an if and only if. So this makes some intuitive sense. And now I can simplify this, because if I believe this whole thing, P implies Q, and Q implies P, therefore I must believe at least the first part, which is that P implies Q. And that's an application of an argument form that says if you believe two things, A and B, then at least you believe the first one of them. If you believe both A and B, then you do believe A. This is called simplification. And what that tells me is if you believe this premise, then you must believe at least that P implies Q. And from here, we're ready to write down the actual arguments, which says, if you believe these premises, you believe not Q. If you believe these premises, you believe P implies Q. And therefore you must believe not P, because this is modus tollens.